Hello, and welcome to my Inspirational Ingrid channel. Today is my daily news bulletin, and it's a little bit different. It's actually called The Sign of the Times. The Sign of the Times. And the video title today is called The Wealth of Jamaica. The Wealth of Jamaica. And so this one's a little bit personal to me because obviously I'm a descendant of Jamaica, where my family was actually born and come from. So this one is really interesting to me. So Donald Trump, as you know, I talk about the end times, the last days, the sign of the times, Bible prophecy. And I've been speaking a lot about Donald Trump, as you know. So before I actually get into this video, please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already. So let's tune in. And let's get started. So, like I said, a lot of my videos, my daily news bulletins have been about Donald Trump and about all the things that he's been doing, all the things that's been happening around the world. Like I said, this one's talking about the wealth of Jamaica right now. The wealth of Jamaica. And Donald Trump has been talking to Jamaica and visiting Jamaica quite a bit recently. And I couldn't really put my finger on it. First of all, I heard that Trump wanted to deport some people from America back to Jamaica, where they come from. So I understood that Jamaica actually agreed, to take some of their people back and to settle them back into society. So that was one, but I didn't think that was it. Then I heard that Donald Trump didn't want them to join BRICS. So as you know, China's actually in BRICS and all some other nations as well. He didn't want them to join. So I think, I really get that. I kind of get that, the reason why he's been visiting. But what I didn't really understand is when he said he wanted to buy Jamaica. And I'm like, buy Jamaica? Buy it. I'm like, okay. There's a lot of places that you actually want to take over right now. Okay, I know you're the US president, but you want to now buy Jamaica. You want to now buy a Caribbean island. Okay. So this threw me a little bit because I couldn't really understand the reasonings behind it. But then I remembered that China has invested a lot in Jamaica. And I'm thinking, okay, so maybe he's thinking, well, if China's investing, why don't I invest in Jamaica? Why don't I take it? Yeah? Because, Trump is used to taking over lands. He's used to doing these kind of things. So I was thinking, okay. But I was thinking, well, is that it? Or is it something else? But no, listen to this. So Jamaica's obviously about to become even more independent than they are already, because in 1966, they actually got their independence from the United Kingdom. Yeah. But are they really independent? They're not. They're not really independent. And so basically, they're trying to steer away now from the United Kingdom, where King Charles will no longer be their sovereign or even their king. Jamaica wants to become like many of the other Caribbean islands that have now broken their ties with the UK. So that I get. But if Jamaica wants to break away ties and come away from the UK, then would they sell to the US? That doesn't actually make any sense at all. Not even one bit of sense. It wouldn't make any sense to me. I don't think it'd make any sense to the people either. So, but here's the thing. What is the news? What is the big news? So this is what revealed to me. There's been some talk of Jamaica finding natural oil and gas. The United Oil and Gas PLC spent over $39.3 million US searching for oil and gas on the offshore of Jamaica. Okay. But Prime Minister Holness stated that the news was fake. He said it was fake news. He seems to be using the very same phrase as Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump's famous words is, it's fake news. It's fake news. Okay. However, Trinidad and Tobago, their neighbouring island, their oil have actually dried up. Their oil has actually dried up. So if that's dried up, they have now been buying oil from Jamaica. Now, where did Jamaica get oil from? So how can this be? Where did Jamaica get oil? If they never had oil in the first place, where did they get oil from? So if Jamaican claims that they have no oil, did this oil just come miraculously? But no. Jamaica claims that they've been buying barrels of oil and then selling them on to Trinidad and Tobago. So basically, they're probably making money. They're trying to do their own investments, which is pretty understandable. You know, who wouldn't do that? And don't forget also, you know, from Port Royal, if you remember back in the day, I'm not talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, but Jamaica used to be a very, very rich city, a very, very rich country, okay? But remember, when they actually had, you know, the landslides and everything of that, and the whole of Port Royal had sunk very deep into the ocean, all those treasures and wealth went along with it. Okay, so we know that's another thing. There's buried treasure actually in Jamaica. Yeah, deep, deep, deep in those oceans. There's probably hidden treasure. So, why does Donald Trump want it? Is it because there's hidden treasure? Is it because there's oil and gas? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what the real answer to that to be? We can only see how everything is actually going to pan out. So just take notice of what's about to happen. Just take notice. And then we'll have the answer, I'm sure. But get this. I've been watching recently, again in the news, about countries like Mali and some other African countries, they have been demanding back monies that belong to them. They have been demanding back monies that actually belong to them. No longer do these African countries want to be taken for granted. They do not want other nations coming into their countries, mining for gold and whatever, steel or metal, whatever it is they're mining for, diamonds, whatever it is, and not paying their dues, not paying their taxes. So these African islands have actually withheld, or actually stopped them from mining at all until they've actually paid up their dues. And too right, I think, as well. I think that's only right. Why would you have someone coming into your country if they're not actually going to pay up to use your facilities? Well, it just shows you that these countries have natural wealth and natural resources. Natural wealth and natural resources. But if we go back, way back in history, a lot of these countries were enslaved by the West. And, they were enslaved for centuries upon centuries, where they built up so much debt that they could never pay them back. But the funny thing is, the wealth that these countries are now finding, they're being able to pay off all of their debts now. And that's why they're becoming independent. And that's why they're no longer relying on the West anymore. I'm not sure if the West actually likes that, but this is actually what the case is. This is actually what is happening. Okay? So, if you remember, even though I'm talking about finances and oil and gold and etc., and wealth of nations, but my videos are really based on a biblical perspective. So I look at the Bible where it shows me that many, many years ago, centuries in fact, that God's people were banished. God's people were banished from him. And he said they would be slaves for many, many years. Many, many years, more years than I can even count. So specifically, if we look at Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 68, this is what it says. It says that when the people of Israel disobey God, they will be scattered throughout the world. And this happened twice, in Babylonian captivity and in 70 AD. So, are we not all God's people? Are we not all chosen people? But there is a particular people, isn't there? Slaves are actually a particular and a peculiar people. A people who seem to have lost history, who seem to have lost wealth and the heritage of their own countries, of where they come from, who their ancestors were. It's only now that things are actually coming to light. And to me, it just seems that God's people have finally been given the freedom and the wealth return from God himself. So it's not just Jamaica. It's the wealth of many, many nations who has black people situated there. Many, many, many countries. Let's look at Isaiah. What does it say about the freedom of God's people? In Isaiah chapter 11, verse 12, he says, "He will raise a banner for the nations and gather the exiles of Israel. He will assemble the scattered people of Judah from the four quarters of the earth." And if you know anything about slave history, black slaves went to four corners of the earth. Four corners of the earth. And they were used as slaves. So, I like to look at Bible prophecy, as you know. I also like to look at the daily news. I watch the world from an economical and a biblical perspective. But let's have a look at my final scripture. My final scripture, as many of you know, I've been looking in the book of Jeremiah. And it so happened today that I said to God, what should I post about? And I didn't hear anything for a long time. But guess what? I didn't look at the Jeremiah scripture first. I looked at the post first, because that was the post that came to me, because I've been looking at this Jamaica oil for about a week or so. But guess what the scripture says? Jeremiah chapter 29, verses 13 to 14. Let's have a look. It says, "You will seek me and find me. When you seek me with all your heart, I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back from captivity. I will gather you from all the nations and places where I have banished you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back to the place from which I carried you into exile." Into exile. So, if you think that God does not have plans in place for his people, think again. If you think that God does not have compassion to redeem his people, think again. Let's look at some of the R's. For these very people, God said he would restore everything they'd lost. He said he would redeem them. Maybe there's even reparation for them. Who knows? Let's think again, my friends. Let's think again. Like I said, my daily news bulletins are very different. Regardless of what you may think, it's God who knows the truth and the whole truth. So stay in tune, my friends, until I have the next one. And like I always say, Make of it what you will. After all, we have the freedom of speech. So see you until next time. Bye.